Season 3, Episode 4 of Strange Brow Radio. My name's Tobe Johnson. Thanks for subscribing, heading over to the YouTube channel, hitting all those subscribe buttons and alert buttons. Help us out with the algorithms. Today's guest is a Area 51 insider with Janet Airlines, nonetheless. A surprise to me as well. So we will be talking to Kate Adams, who knows what it's like to fly into Groom Lake. Quite a story. Learn something new, of course, and so shall you. We'll be right back with my interview with Kate Adams. All right, as I said, my guest today is a Area 51 insider, and I will tell you more about her, and she will tell you more about herself, her career, in just a moment. But I wanted to take a special moment here to thank all the subscribers over at the Patreon page. That's patreon.com/Strange Brow Radio. There you will find exclusive content only distributed by Strange Brow Radio to those that are subscribers over at the Patreon page. We have a lot of fun over there, a lot of inside talk, emails back and forth, messages back and forth. And then, of course, they get to see things before they drop, know things before they drop, including things about the Al Moon Lab, which is available. And it is available, well, mainly at Amazon right now. You can go to strangebrowradio.com, click through there as well, and find a copy. But it will be available also as a paper book on the 30th of August. The release date for the Al Moon Lab, a paranormal experiment, is available as an ebook. And just to reiterate again, it is an immersive book, exclusively new, as far as I know, as far as invention, of a book that can take you further and deeper by scanning your smartphone camera in photo mode over a QR code, and there you'll find photos, videos, and images, papers, and such pertaining to the chapter you're on. So go check out the Al Moon Lab, a paranormal experiment. If you're waiting for the drop of the book, it's coming soon. Paperback will be about $14. The ebook, I think, is under $7. So thank you for your pre-sales. I know some of you have already hit that up over for the Kindle version or the ebook version. And thank you for doing that. Also, thank you to the folks at metallicmonsters.com. The Blondie statue is on its way right now to Lisa Lycan. Of course, you got to go back and listen to a previous episode of Blondie. And she is actually getting the 3D recreation sent to her in the mail. We sent the confirmation from metallicmonsters.com. And now we are in the midst of getting an appointment scheduled between us and the 3D sculptor Guyton Gray and a Sasquatch witness. And that will be our second 3D model. I'll hopefully have something to tell you about that more soon. Also, thank you to Feral by Aaron over at Feral by Aaron at Etsy. All one word, ERYN, Feral by Aaron. You can check out her alchemy sound tools and spirit tools, drums, rattles, and smudge fans. There really is nothing more beautiful out there in that vein than a Feral by Aaron piece. So please check it out, won't you, and support the show. Okay, as promised, Kate Adams, Area 51 insider on Janet Airlines, no less. Here we go. All right, my guest today is Kate Adams, ex-employee at Groom Lake, or what some people call Over the Hill, best known as Area 51. Hello, Kate.
How you doing?
Great. It's good to finally talk to you over the phone and over Zoom regarding your ex-employer. So let's just start with a little bit of Kate's background before we get to how you got employed over at Area 51. Talk to me a little bit about what led you down that road to where you would be heading that direction. So take us into, the kind of the foundation of Kate and what you were doing beforehand that got you there.
Sure. I joined the Air Force in 78. I was stationed at Chanute, met my husband there, had my son there, and then we were stationed at Nellis Air Force Base in Las Vegas for my last 2 years. I was working at Range Group, and I acquired my top secret clearance there. I just was administration there. I didn't do anything exciting. We dealt with the goings on up at the range with the airplanes and things like that, and like supported red flag. So that pretty much was my exciting time in the Air Force.
And you said red flag. What's red flag?
A red flag is where the pilots come from all over and they compete.
Okay.
They actually made a movie of it back in the 80s, I believe, called Red Flag, which is a really good movie if y'all would like to watch it, to show a little bit about what actually goes on during those competitions.
Is this is different than Top Gun training?
Pretty much the same kind of stuff, but this actually is not training, it's the competition. The pilots compete, the ground crews compete, crew chiefs. It's all a competition from nuts and bolts all the way up to the pilots.
And this is a friendly competition? This isn't part of a procedure for
Correct.
rank or anything? This is just a friendly competition the Navy has in the Air Force?
Air Force, right.
Okay.
It's a friendly competition just to see who's the best.
Now, at these Air Force bases, the Navy does come there and train as well, correct?
I don't recall that they did at the time. I know there's a lot of joint bases now where the Navy does train with the Air Force. Now, I did, before I went to Nellis, when I was at Chanute Air Force Base, I worked for the fire school out there. And we did have Department of Defense, Navy, Marines, Army, all across, including foreigners. They did fire training over there, trained on the trucks and procedures and rescue, things like that.
And at this time, are you active duty enlisted?
No, I have been out of the military since 82.
No, I'm sorry. When you were there, you were active duty.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I was active duty.
Okay.
And I was active duty at Nellis.
And you did 5 years or what?
I did 4 and 2 years inactive.
Nice. And that's when you met the love of your life.
I
and
did.
The rest is history there.
The rest is history.
Okay, so to paint a picture here for people as far as the way these bases look, the Nevada desert is filled with bases. Some of them are recognized, some of them are not recognized. Some of them are not even on maps. Is that correct?
I'd say that's correct.
Okay.
I'd say that's correct.
Nellis would be one of those bases that is on a map. It's probably one of the more well-known ones out in Nevada. Also, there's, there's ones outside of Tonopah. Is there a...
Tonopah. Tonopah's another one.
Mm-hmm. Great. Okay, so these are everywhere. And you get your top secret clearance. Is that correct?
I got my top secret clearance when I was working with Range Group.
Okay, and what's that procedure like?
They actually went into my neighborhood, talked with neighbors, knocked on their doors face to face, asked about my character. What kind of person was I? Was I trustworthy? Was I dedicated to America? They went to employers and they sent out letters and things of those that they couldn't reach, and asking about my character and things like that. If I would be a good risk, I guess, for the U.S.
And is that something that's pretty common when you're going for an average top secret clearance, that they do something as intrusive as that? Okay.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
It's very common, and I'm sure they still do it today.
Right. Well, you must have got glowing reviews, because after they went around and asked, you got the job or you got the clearance.
I did. I did.
Okay. What's the interview process like? Is there an interview process at all when you're going for your clearance, as far as like being before a board?
No. It's all on, other people's, I'm thinking they did ask me, about how I liked the Air Force. If I felt I was trustworthy, things like that. To the best of my recollection. It's been a long time, Toby. long time.
Yeah.
But I remember it not being a big to do or a big process for me. Now I'm sure my neighbors with people from the military knocking on their doors, I'm sure it was a big to do for them.
Sure. Yeah, that's exciting for them. What's going on? Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Right.
Kate's in trouble.
Again.
Okay. So at this point, you're in the service, getting a top secret clearance. How soon? How soon after you enlisted are you already going for a top secret clearance?
Oh, I was in for 2 years.
And then automatically, were you approached to see if
No, my job required it.
it did? Okay. And again, that job was what?
I was just administration at Range Group, and I got it because of documents I might see. If we ever went in, like I was in a peacetime, so like if we ever went in a time of war or something, and I would be one of the people that would get out like the secret messages, like ticker tape kind of stuff. We still had key punch back then, so things like that. So I might be privy to some information that, if leaked, might cause harm to our soldiers and things like that.
And we get,
So
what
it's
year
not
is this,
that
Kate?
I did act. This was 80 to 82.
Okay, gotcha.
So it was peacetime.
Right. But it's kind of the burgeoning of the Cold War, too. Is that also part of this? Are you getting...
Right.
Yeah, right. I mean, Reagan is Carter in at that time, and Reagan's coming in?
Oh, don't get me lying. I don't know.
Yeah. It was during that fluctuation between presidents, though. I mean, I think Reagan was in by 83.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. And I was born in 74, so I was just wrapping my head around dressing myself at that point. So
there you go. Right.
It wouldn't be till 1997 till I myself enlisted. And I know that I was out at Fallon for a period of time, so I have an appreciation for the vastness of the desert. And the Top Gun School, I think, is out that way, if I'm not mistaken. So there's rarely are the desert skies empty of air traffic. But when I say that now, tell me if I'm wrong, too, and this is all going to lead somewhere here. There seems to be a scheduled active time, mostly for these bases, Air Force Base, Navy bases, and it almost is a banker schedule, Monday through Friday, and it seemed like weekends were kind of off. Was that the case back then?
Right. They were doing a lot of training during the week. It was just almost like a regular 8 to 5 job, but the sound of freedom, that's what we call it. Whenever we hear the jets, sounds of freedom.
And were you living right there on base when you enlisted?
We were. For a time, we were.
Right, base housing. Okay.
Yeah, my husband was in at the same time also. He worked on the F-4E Phantom.
Okay.
Jet.
All right. So after you're in for a while there, were you hearing rumors about secret bases outside of Nellis?
Oh, we knew they were there. We knew they were there. People would... I've heard stories of people getting interviewed in an abandoned parking lot to see if they wanted to go work a certain job because they were recommended, and things like that. They want people of good character, people they can trust that are not like spies, things like that. So people who are going to be protective of our nation's security.
Right, and you don't have to be active duty, or enlisted or an officer to get a gig like this. Is that correct? You could be picked from a program.
You mean as far as like contractors? I don't know many contractors that worked on the base. I do know there were contractors in a lot of the forward operating bases that were out there.
And when you say a forward operating base, what is that?
Oh, like Groom Lake, Area 51, Tonopah, things like that.
Okay.
They had contractors in those places.
Gotcha. Okay. So after your 4 years, you get out, and then what happens?
Well, I didn't. I got out, but about a month before I was getting out, I got a phone call, and I got recruited to work for the company that flies the contractors and the all the employees up to the bases. So because I already had a top secret clearance, if I didn't have a top secret clearance, I'd have to go and just work administration there in their offices until I could, which could take up to 6 to 7 months. And they knew I had already had it. I don't know how they knew to contact me, but they offered me a job, and within 2 weeks, I was actually operating in my position that I was hired for, because I didn't have to wait for the security clearance.
What was the name of your position?
I was kind of like a flight attendant, not on the plane, but I was responsible for getting the people on and off the planes and making sure, the seats were filled at certain times, because there were flights going in and out of there in the morning and in the evening, and make sure, we got the workers up there and got them back. And I flew every day to and from work.
Okay. Now, anybody who's interested in the topic knows about the red and white jets that leave from Janet Airlines. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. And what is that base? Not base, but is that part of the airport there? Because it's a private part of the airport, which is also commercial as well. Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it is DOD. Is that a DOD offshoot, Janet?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I wasn't given that impression. A lot of things I didn't inquire about, don't ask, don't tell. So, so I don't know. I think they were private.
Okay.
I think it was EG&G.
What is that again?
EG&G was the name of the company.
Okay. We don't know what that stands for. EG&G. Okay.
Don't either. I probably should have looked that up before I called you.
Right. We'll just say it's egg. So did you have a uniform?
I did not.
No, you just wore
I was
civilian
a civilian.
attire. Okay.
I was a civilian.
Okay.
Nobody wore uniforms.
All right. And that seems like it was the preferred method because
correct.
I got you.
And that's not uncommon. That's not uncommon. And also, when you go to, places, if you go TDY, like maybe to Saudi Arabia or something, usually you wear your civilian clothes till you get to the base, and then you change if you're staying off station in a hotel. So it's not it's not an uncommon practice.
Were there Air Force officers on board ever in uniform flying at any point? Nobody was. Okay.
Nobody in uniform.
All right. But there was a blend of people that would take these flights. What kind of variants, or did you have any idea? I mean, you must have had an itinerary roster of who these people were and their boarding pass. What's that process like?
I would arrive there and I would be given the manifest. And there were certain people, and we don't know who they were or who they worked for, that had priority. Now, I know there was one contractor who had employees that they were always last on. So if their planes were filled and we couldn't get them up there, I think there was buses that went up there, or they just didn't go that day. And same thing coming home. When we were filling the planes to get them home, if the planes were full and we might have one or two that we couldn't fit on the planes to come home, they'd have to stay another day.
Okay. And how many flights are we talking leaving towards Groom Lake in particular every day?
Well, I know I was on one. I'm thinking a couple planes, but we weren't the only mode of transportation to get up there.
How else would people get in?
By bus.
Okay. And
they were bus.
The white buses with the dark windows that you see?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So an average day of work would start what time for you when you clock
5.
In? Okay. And flights
5 in the morning.
What time did flights generally get out?
Different times. Okay. It was never the same, and the flights were never the same.
Mm-hmm. The flights were never the same because why? They would go different spots?
No, they just go.
You broke up.
So
Say that again. You broke up a little bit.
they would go different routes.
Okay.
So, you might go west and north, or you might go east and northeast and west. So, I mean, they just changed it up. And if we had visitors on the flights, it was blackout. All the windows and stuff had to be shut. But for us that worked up there, it didn't matter if the windows were open or closed.
Okay. So you get your manifest. How many people on an average flight? Was there an average of, would you ever just fly one person?
No,
Okay.
no.
Right. So
They were always full.
Okay.
Because people flew to and from work every day.
Mm-hmm.
Some stayed up there for the week, but most came back every day and went up every morning.
Did anybody ever introduce themselves and get comfortable with you to the point where you found out what their job was, or did you have little to no idea?
No. I just remember one time, I remember it was cold up there, it was snow and ice. And one of the security guards, we, went for a ride along, with security police that day, just up and down the flight line. But that's about it. They had a chow hall. We went to places like that, but we weren't allowed to freely roam the base or, and I don't think chatting about what other people did was encouraged.
Mm-hmm. But you did have regular flyers that you knew.
Oh, yeah.
You knew Bob and Doug or Sherry or whoever.
Definitely.
Was on there. Yeah. Okay.
Definitely.
And nothing ever got brought up on a personal level?
No. I mean, I worked with a couple of other girls, we did the manifest and, we made sure everybody was checked in, and we'd log them in, and we'd just start working on the going home manifest right away.
From the base?
From the base.
Okay. Because you may have
So I didn't fly back twice a day. I just flew up, I worked all day, and then came back.
And there was, at no point did you ever have to stay the night on the base?
No. No, we made sure we got home.
Okay. And again, what year is this?
82 to 83.
And how long are you employed doing this?
About a year.
Okay, so I didn't know that. So you, okay. Well, let's dig into this a little bit more. So you get a flight manifest. How long does the flight on average take from Vegas to Groom Lake?
Anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how they fly.
And they're going in these different routes here for safety precaution. They want to keep it. What is that about?
I'm sure that's why they did it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
So, if someone was tracking you,
Right.
that you didn't want to, they say, oh, they're going to be flying over this area at, 7:20.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why for safety reasons, I'm sure, security and safety reasons.
And this is before Groom Lake is even known about. I mean, it wasn't till 88, 89 where Area 51 became a part of pop culture.
Right. But I mean, everybody at Nellis knew about it. We all know.
Yeah, but you didn't have civilian interest, did you? There wasn't people, with...
No, not like it is today. No, not at all.
Nothing like that. So when you say you worked for a private corporation going into a base, everyone's really not that interested in the civilian world, are they? They don't want to be like, oh, God, you're going where?
Right. They just,
Mm-hmm.
Back then, if it was military related, people kind of respected that more so than they do today. Everybody wants to know everything today, I think, like I said, everybody in Vegas who lived there and everybody who worked on the base knew about these places, knew they existed. I don't think many, went up there or were curious as they are today about it.
Okay. So you've had a chance to actually go to, you said the Chow Hall at Area 51, right?
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. All right. So going into a cordoned off area, I'm sure security is everywhere. You know where to go. At any point, did you ever have a lapse of memory and go to the wrong place accidentally? What is the process like there?
No, me and the other girls that worked in our office, we just take one of the cars over to the chow hall, and there's not as much security as far as everywhere like you think. These people that go up there, they are heavily researched, fully vetted. They all have top secret clearances, so there really is no need to have
Gotcha.
increased security up there. Now, if we had a visitor come up, then I'm sure security would be close by.
When you say visitor, that sounds different than your regular flight manifest of employees.
Correct.
Okay, so
And
go ahead.
they might come up on a private plane, or they might come up, on the bus to visit the base.
What kind of visitors? Senators, people at the State Department, that kind of thing?
We weren't told.
Okay.
We didn't know. But I knew they did, and I never had to put them on a manifest. But I was told if we do have a visitor on the plane, you have to put down all the windows and things, so they couldn't see where we were going because they weren't cleared.
Ah, gotcha. Okay. I hear you now. So describe what it looks like flying into the base. I mean, are you watching out a private window the landing happen?
Absolutely. I mean, it's just like a commercial flight. Now, one thing I found odd, and I did find it on Google Maps, so I know it's not that secret, was I remember this one area we would fly over at different times in the flight. Like I said, they took different routes. It looked like, you know what an antlion is?
An ant?
Or some people call them doodle bugs. An antlion.
No.
They dig a cone in the sand. So it's like V, it's like cone shaped. So when an ant climbs in it, the fine sand, they slip to the bottom, and then that doodle bug comes up and just grabs them from the middle, and has lunch. So they're like these cones. And every once in a while, you might see a trailer, look like a little tiny piece of rice on the side of this cone. And I'm thinking what they are, and they're still there. You can find them. You can find them on Google Maps. I'm assuming, I don't know for sure. I'm assuming they were probably underground testing of weapons, bombs and things like that. But they were just like everywhere, just pockmarked, all close to each other, and just dozens of them.
Did you ever see those with your own eyes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
Okay, so
Yeah,
it wasn't just
was
Google Maps. Gotcha. So you're looking down at those as they're happening. Gotcha. Okay.
Not as I'm flying over them, right. I don't know that they were doing it at that time. I don't know if that was something of the past and left over, or if they were still, doing those. I never felt bombs going off when I was up at Area 51, any kind of testing like that. I never experienced that.
Okay, well, what did you see?
I didn't see a whole lot, Toby. We kind of went from trailer to trailer. And when we were in our office, unless if we had to go deliver something to another building, you just walked in the door, you dropped it off, and you went back. So it was pretty uneventful, but it was kind of neat knowing I was working up there,
Sure.
Because you're always anticipating, hey, what if I see something?
Go ahead.
I do know at one time we had, there was a big hubbub about it. On the front, I believe it was Popular Mechanics. One of the planes that they were testing somehow got leaked and was on the front of Popular Mechanics. Oh, that place was in a tizzy. And I would see those planes land. They'd let us go out to the flight line and watch them land. It was kind of like the SR-71, because that's what they did back then, did a lot of testing of aircraft. But I remember when that leaked, before they wanted the word out that they had this aircraft, it was on the front of Popular Mechanics. So You can pull up past
Mm-hmm.
issues and look at that, and they'll talk about it.
And the SR-71, is that a traditional looking aircraft or is it pretty unique
No,
looking?
no, it's unique. It's kind of like, it's got the long nose with the rounded cockpit and it's pointed, and the
Okay.
back, you have yeah, it's almost outdated now. It makes me kind of feel kind of old.
Is that the Blackbird? Is that the other name for it?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
yeah.
All right, now I know. I think Clint Eastwood made a movie with a plane like that in it one time, if I remember correctly. What about any triangular craft? Did you ever see any craft out there that was really non-traditional?
I didn't.
Okay.
I did not. But I do know, I think there was a place, because some people stayed on the plane, so I'm assuming there was a place even more secret beyond our base.
Yeah.
Don't know. Don't know where they went or what they did. But not everybody got off at that base.
Oh, okay. Did you ever hear about an area called S4?
No,
Okay.
did not.
Okay. Do you know what I'm referring to?
No.
Okay. Are you familiar with Bob Lazar's testimony?
I remember listening to it a while back.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what do you
Okay.
make of his testimony?
You're going to have to give me something to remind me a little bit.
Right. So he claimed that he was recruited, I believe, somewhere in New Mexico at Los Alamos, if I remember correctly, and went through the whole recruitment process and worked in an area that was concealed on the side of a mountain called S4, where there was hangars on the side
Oh,
of a
yeah, and
mountain.
he worked with the aliens.
Yeah.
Is
And I'm
he?
watching your facial expression here.
Yeah.
Um,
Is he the? Yeah, is he the one that worked with the aliens?
Now, he never said that. Now, he did say that he saw something through a plexiglass window that looked like maybe it was a dummy of an alien, like they were
Hmm.
trying to figure out how the seats maybe were occupied. I think that was his theory. But, he goes into some detail about working in a compartmentalized unit with people looking into back engineered UFOs. So,
Oh, interesting.
mhm. Do you
Now,
think
that's
that
probably someplace I wouldn't mind going.
did you ever get the feeling that there was something like that possible going on there?
I don't think at that time that was something that was prominent in my mind. Or, I mean, I've believed in UFOs all my life. I'm sure the hope of like a possibility of it being up there. Well,
Hmm.
like I said, I knew there was somewhere more secret than our place or more remote. I don't know if they went to New Mexico. I don't know if they went to California. I don't know where they went. We weren't privy to that information. So even us with top secret clearances didn't have privy to that information.
Well, now would the Janet flights go to other bases? Would they go
Mhm.
to Tonopah?
I know. I think Tonopah was too close to Nellis.
Okay.
It would probably just, you get up, as soon as you get up, you got to get back down. So I think they did a lot of busing up there.
Okay. But at no point did you ever hear the name of any other bases near Area 51 that weren't connected to your manifest, as though people are getting off your plane and then maybe taking a secondary flight to a farther base, nothing like that.
No, they stayed on the plane.
Okay.
The plane went further from there.
Where nobody parachuted out DB Cooper style into a
No,
hidden cave somewhere.
no.
Okay. One of the people I interviewed was an ex Air Force. After he retired, he was recruited, and he went in and got a full blown interview. He said that the interview was really intimidating. And he had a feeling that if he were to take the job after the interview, because he was hired, they approached him as he was getting on the bus to leave the base, and
Wow.
he felt as though if he would have taken that job, it would have been tantamount to joining the government mob, because once you're in, you're kind of sworn to secrecy forever. Did you get the feeling at all that there was any of that heaviness on that base? Do you know what I mean by that?
I do, but no, I don't feel there was a lot of that heaviness for me. I mean, I'm not intimidated by much, I just kind of go with the flow. We did have to sign, non-disclosure agreements and things like that when we left. You always say perjury or fined or jail time or whatever, but I've been online and I don't think what I saw and what I did is violating any of that, because everything saw and I'm talking about and stuff you can find right on the internet. So,
well, what is the strangest thing that happened to you while you're employed there?
It wasn't strange. The most excitement there was when the SR-71 came. I wasn't really affiliated with UFOs or things like that. One thing that did concern me was, we were all told when we get up there, if you see a green cloud, get in the fastest truck going in the opposite direction. I don't know. My husband said some fuels, some jet fuels can do that and they're poisonous. So, I don't know what they meant by that. They never told us what it was. They just said, because I'm sure if that happened, they probably would have sent out some kind of alarm, and then you just get in the fastest vehicle going in the opposite direction.
And you never saw this?
No, I didn't.
No. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting. Now, we were out there for a period of about 4 days right outside of Rachel. Right outside the gates. We were at the back gate, and I think it's called Back Gate Road, actually. And there was a little intimidation factor there from what I would assume would have been the camo dudes, which are kind of the legendary enforcers of the law out in the desert. Did you ever get to meet the camo dudes?
No, but like I said, I did drive with one of the security officers up and down the flight line one day. He had to do a check, and sometimes there was a lull between our job, and he said, "Hey, you want to come along?" And I said, "Sure." So I just went for a ride. Didn't see anything. I was looking at the base on Google Maps, and it looks a little different than I remembered. There's a lot more buildings, things like that. It was pretty basic when I was there.
Right.
But I don't know where these contractors went. They'd come out and then they were gone. I don't know where they went. I never got to see that part.
Okay, so they were a little mysterious?
Kinda. But they always showed up to go home at night. So.
Right. Interesting. Okay. Wow. Okay, so the layout of the actual base, you're coming in on the tarmac. When everybody gets out, is it just an open tarmac? Is there a hallway?
No, there's like a small building. There's a small building with a bunch of seats, just like if you were in a section of an airport waiting for your flight to leave. So, and, we just had a podium that we stood up at and just called off names and checked IDs and made sure they were who they said they were. And that was going both ways, there and back.
Did they have a badge on it of any kind when they got on the base?
Yeah. Yeah, we had to wear our badges.
And what do those badges look like?
Just a regular rectangle badge, with your picture on it. And
okay. And the company you work for, or what do they say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it had that on it. Unfortunately, they didn't let me keep it.
Okay. And so you're there for only a year. What dissuaded you, or why did you change careers? What happened?
My husband, he'd go TDY. He was also active duty after I got out. He stayed in for 21 years. And I had a young child. He was 2 years old. And I was getting up at 3 a.m. and getting home at 6 p.m. And it was great pay. And, I had to give it a shot. But it just proved to be a lot, to be a mom and then having a husband who's gone.
Sure.
A lot. So I'm like, a little over a year, I think I worked up there. I'm like, that's kind of enough.
Right.
So.
I want to ask you about the UFOs. You said that you believe in UFOs.
I do.
Do you know that UFOs are real? Have you had a sighting?
I have. I was in the eighth grade, and I went to Catholic schools all my life. And there was this weekend we had called Come Alive Weekend, and we had like a midnight water balloon fight. And so they had this big. This is back in Connecticut, and they have this big clearing area in the middle of the woods where we go to play ball, just do a lot of fun stuff. And it was surrounded by big tall trees. I don't know if you've ever been in New England, but compared to Oklahoma, the trees are monstrous. Here in Oklahoma, they're kind of short. But we were up there, me and three of my friends, and you know those snap bracelets they have now that glow, that green?
Are you talking about the old snap bracelets that you throw around your wrist and they snap?
Well, no, the ones that you
Oh.
crack and they glow.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Glow
yeah,
stick.
yeah. Yes.
Okay, so I'm looking across the field, which is probably like a football field, a couple football fields big, and I see this green thing, probably about the size of a house, maybe a little longer. And I'm watching it and I'm like, there's a plane flying late at night. It's midnight. And all of a sudden it's going around the field, and I'm noticing, oh my gosh, that's in front of the trees because the trees aren't shadowing the light. And it came halfway across, and when it got to my right, it started angling and coming down. So we just booked it out of there. We told the camp lady, whatever, and they thought it was a ploy for us to get them up there to get them with water balloons. So no one believed us, but I saw it. I saw it. So, and I've seen some things out here in my backyard. Can I turn around and show them kind of where I live so they
Yeah,
can
of course. Take us on
explain
a
it a little
tour.
bit better? Okay, I live on a mountain in Shakota, Oklahoma, and this is my yard. It's pretty big and pretty vast. It's 50 acres. It's surrounded by trees, a big clearing area, which my husband insists on mowing. And so we were standing here, and I'm on the back porch, and I'm looking straight up. And Daryl and Gary saw this just the other night also. And off to the south, I see this tiny, tiny, looks like a star. And it comes zipping across over my head, and it zigzags about 5 or 6 times, stops, and takes off straight, coming straight east. And there were 4 of them that night. So that was pretty incredible. We're like, what are we looking at? You might think, I don't know what it was. I have no clue. But it was, and Daryl and Gary were watching the Perseid meteor shower the other night.
Yeah.
Up past, here, I'll show you, you'll see the chickens, up past the shop there. They were behind that shop up there. Can you see it?
Gotcha. Yep.
Yep. And they saw the same thing. Same thing happened. So I don't know what they are or where they're coming from. I don't know. And Daryl said when they watched it, it kind of got really, really bright, and then it just went out.
Is there anything man-made about what you've seen as far as possibilities that it's something of ours?
I don't know. A woman I had met was telling me that her son was in the military, and she said they actually have surveillances that are like as big as a deck of cards. I guess they can remotely control them. But she said it's crazy, what the government has. And that's all she told me about that. She said, because when I told her about what I saw, she's like, yeah. I'm like, you seen them? She goes, no, but I know they're there. She goes, the military has, and I don't know how she knows. She said they have devices like as big as about a deck of cards, and there's surveillance. But I don't know what they'd be surveilling up here.
Okay. So. Interesting. What about The property itself, does the property you live on, does it have a history of other unusual things?
Not that anybody is willing to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So, and not that I'm aware of.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be interesting to talk to my neighbors about it, to see if they had seen anything like that.
Right, because 50 acres is a lot.
It's a very small piece of property for Oklahoma.
Is it?
So, most people have hundreds or thousands. So,
Gotcha. Yeah. Interesting. What
yeah.
do you make of the UFO question? Where are you at with, since you believe they're real, what do you think the motives are?
I don't know. Observation. Maybe, we're curious. We send things up there, right? Look for life on Mars and the moon and things like that. So, maybe they're just curious. Who knows, I think if we had something they needed or wanted, they'd already have it. Because apparently they're more advanced than we are.
Right. And so, as far as the relationship's concerned between man and them, your experience is just limited to that one sighting. You have no family that has had experiences. You don't come from abductions or any kind of
No
experiences
abductions,
like that.
but I do have family that have had experiences, like with orbs,
Mm-hmm.
things like that.
And is there a difference in your mind between UFOs and orbs?
I don't know. I'm optimistic as to what they are. You hear a lot of people relate them to Bigfoot, or I don't know. I think there's stories from, long ago, where they talk about sprites and fairies and things like that. Usually stuff like that comes from some kind of truth. I think it's got to come from somewhere.
Right. So it's rooted in truth, but maybe it's changed over time.
Yeah. Now up here, got to tell you this story about a UFO. A friend of mine who's in the medical field. He was telling me about an incident that he and his wife had. It was near Christmas. They were going to a Christmas party for their office, and they were driving back. They were up by Tahlequah, Oklahoma, which is a lot more wooded and a lot more active in UFOs and Bigfoot and things like that. And he noticed lights behind him. He thought, well, wow, it's pretty late. Another car's out. And that's kind of odd for Oklahoma. We're usually in bed by 9. So they watched it, and he said, and I noticed it wasn't on the ground. He said it was following us. And he stopped, and him and his wife got out of the car, and they looked, and it was right over their car. And he said it was huge. He said it like blackened the sky. It was huge. And so he said, we need to get out of here. So he got in his car, and they were driving, and it's kept following them. And all of a sudden it took off toward the left. Now, Tahlequah and that area by Lost City, it's a very hilly area. He said it was silent. He didn't hear a thing. And it was hugging the mountains. It was like just above the mountains, and it was just traversing, the flow of the mountains. And it was heading toward Lost City. So they actually drove out to Lost City to follow it. And when they got there, he said there were a bunch of crazy people standing on top of their cars going, "Welcome to Earth," and all this stuff. So they said, "You saw something come through?" And they said, "Oh, yeah, it came right over us. And it just sat here for a little bit, and then it took off." So the next morning he went to work, and he saw 2 orbs, pretty big, he said about twice the size of a bowling ball, in this little opening. And he sat there and watched them, and they were very slowly moving. So he went and got his friend at work, and at lunch he said, "You got to come with me and see these things." So they were still there, but they were higher and they were smaller. And then he went home that evening and got his wife, and they went back, and they sat there and watched them till they disappeared into the sky. They got so small they couldn't see him anymore. So he called a friend he said he had at who are the MUFON.
Right.
And another guy he knew in the government. And I think his story actually is on the MUFON website. Said that next summer, he had 3 young boys. He said, I just started shaking. I'm like, why? He said, I'm thinking, what was this? Where did it come from? And how am I going to protect my family? He said he felt totally helpless. And I don't know why it took that long to hit him 6 months later, but I guess he was just mowing and chilling out things in his head. And he just started thinking about it. And he just got really scared, that how am I going to protect my sons from something like this?
Right.
So, yeah. And Lost City and Tahlequah, that area, I think that's pretty well known for UFOs.
I never heard Lost City. It sounds like a place where there would be UFOs for sure.
Yeah. My
guest today has been Kate Adams, ex-employee of Janet Airlines. Pleasure to talk to you, Kate, and I appreciate your time this evening. And in closing, do you have any advice to anybody that would like to go into the military and get involved with secret programs? Is this something you suggest young men and women still pursue?
I wish I knew more. I wish I knew then what I knew now. Oh, I'd definitely get more involved in the
you would have done it again. You'd do it again.
All over again. Absolutely.
That's incredible. Great. True patriot here, Kate Adams. Thanks again, Kate. Have a good night and tell the family hello.
Thanks, Toby. I sure will. Have a good night.
Bye-bye. All right, that was Kate Adams with Janet Airlines. What a story. Really my first time getting inside the craft that lands at Area 51. And although she didn't have a lot to say about S4, she did validate that, kind of what Bob was saying as far as how these flights are, different routes that they come in. The verification wasn't as solid as I was hoping just due to the lack of time and employment or time of rate, but we're building a case here. And of course, we all know Janet Airlines exists anyway, and so does Groom Lake, but really interesting about the green cloud. I'd love to get some confirmation about the warning of the green cloud. If you've heard anything about a green cloud, please get in touch with me at strangebrowradio@gmail.com. Also get in touch with me there if you are a Sasquatch witness and have seen close-up details for, a prolonged period of time. If Bigfoot's burned in your brain, let's say, from chest up or even full body, let me know, and I'd love to do a one-on-one, anonymous, if you want, sculpture between you, me, and Metallic Monsters at metallicmonsters.com. You can check them out. They have rare earth metals. Also, you can order a copy of just resin if you want, just to have the resin copy. And that is what Lisa Leica is getting. I don't know if she got her copy yet, but Metallic Monsters has sent it out to her. I'm going to go grab my copy soon. Also, check out Feral by Aaron over Etsy. Nothing finer than Caroliner to have a Feral Aaron drum in the morning. Check it out. New drums, rattles, and smudge fans. It's your chance to make something awesome happen in your life. Why not? Hey, we got things coming up, including the Forks, Washington gift store / museum, where the new Biggie installation is going to be delivered by October 1st. I'll let you know more about that. And as promised, drumroll, this 27th of October, the Great Debate, Podcastle Live, Manresa Castle. Be there in person if you can. It's a Wednesday evening at 7. A debate between Flesh and Blood and Quantum, between Rich Germeau and researcher Brett Dill. One-on-one at the Haunted Castle in Manresa Castle. We'll have that recorded if we can't stream it, so stay tuned on that, and I will tell you more in the future about that debate and maybe get those boys on here to talk. Also, don't forget to check out the Al Moon Lab, a paranormal experiment paperback coming out again on the 30th of this month, August. Find it at Amazon. But as of now, you can go order your copy, digital copy, ebook of the Al Moon Lab over at Amazon. All right, that's it for me. Enough promotion. I will see you in the trees.